Okay guys, factoring with a equal to 1. So what do we mean by a equal to 1? So we got to reference back to standard form for a quadratic. Remember, standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So what we're talking about is this coefficient, leading coefficient here is a 1. Now this is going to be essential to determining how to factor everything else after this. So you're going to see some different things here, different methods in terms of how to factor quadratics, but this is kind of the foundation for everything. So let's start with number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and erase, not really erase, but write over 3 and 5 here so we've got some room. So the first thing we want to do is we always want to look at this constant and look at the sign. Okay, so the sign means it's a negative, so that means I subtract. Let's subtract. Okay, now what we're looking at are factors of 36. So we do 36. Now, one method of doing this is listing. So we have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. All those multiply to give me 36. One has to be positive, one has to be negative in order for it to be a negative 36. But they have to subtract to give me this negative 5. So that's going to be here. Now, in order to get negative 5, that means the larger number is negative, the smaller number is positive. So, just in review, 4 times a negative 9 gives me negative 36. Positive 4 minus 9 gives me negative 5. Excuse me. So hopefully as you do these and continue practicing them, you won't necessarily need to make this little list over here on the side. But we'll do it a couple of times and then we'll go a little bit faster. So what happens is my factors here are, my factors are positive 4 and negative 9. So I have x plus 4 and then x minus 9. And if I were to multiply this out using FOIL, distributive, the box and rectangle method, whatever, then that's what I would end up with. Okay, let's come over to number 2. So we're going to do it similarly as number 1, and then we're going to go a little bit faster here. So I'm going to write over this. Okay, so what do we have? We have, again, subtract. My factors are of 60, or negative 60. So if you want to list them all, you got 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10. Okay, and right there is where I'm going to stop. And the reason is because I have to end up with a negative 4. So that means a positive 6 and a negative 10 add to give, or subtract to give me 4. So I have n plus 6 and n minus 10. So if I were to multiply this out, that's what I would end up with. Now again, the idea here is to not have to do this, but if it's necessary, you do that. Okay, but hopefully we can get to a point where we don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these others that I've done and go ahead and try these next ones. Okay, so I'm just going to talk through this one. Factors of 8 that add to give me 9. So 8, 1 and 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. Because this is a negative, they both have to be negative. So what I end up with, x minus 1 and x minus 8. So just to recap, negative 1 times negative 8 is a positive 8. Negative 1 plus a negative 8 plus, because it's add, gives me a negative 9. Okay, let's do this one. Number 4. Factors of 4 that subtract to give me 3. Well, 1 and 4. 1 minus 4 is 3. It needs to be a negative 3, therefore the bigger factor must be negative. So that means I have n plus 1 and n minus 4. So let's just look at it again. 1, positive 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Positive 1 plus a negative 4 is a negative 3. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, 16. So I know it's B and B. So something else you can do here is, since it's add, I know my signs are the same. Here they both have to be negative because that's a negative. So when they subtract, when they add, the signs are the same. But when they subtract, like these, our signs were different. Or like this one, when it subtract, our signs are different. We put the sign of the larger factor based on the middle term. So the middle term's negative, the larger factor is negative. But when it's add, when do you add? When signs are the same. So I can go ahead and write this down and then just figure out what my factors are. So what are factors of 16? That will give me 10, and that would be 2 and 8. So I'm going to write an extra example down here. 1, to help me check notes, but 2, to also give you some more practice. So let's do this. X squared minus, let's see, 23x, I got to think here, minus, let's see, minus 50. There we go. All right, so let's do this. First thing we want to talk about, it's x squared, so let's just go ahead and do our parentheses, x and x. Now, since it's subtract, that means my signs are different. So one's a plus, one's a minus. Now all I have to do is figure out my factors, okay? What are factors of 50 that subtract to give me 23? Factors of 50. How about 2 and 25? Because 25 minus 2 is 23. Now, where does it go? Well, remember, the sign of your middle term is the sign of your larger factor. So that means the 25 has to go here. And the 2 goes right here. So just to review, what's positive 2 times negative 25? Negative 50. What's positive 2 plus a negative 25? A negative 23. So hopefully we kind of followed that. And again, this is a huge, huge lesson to understand for going forward.